When writing this script, I was in a Discord call, and we got to talking about early YouTube. While I've been streaming for only about 2 years, I've been on YouTube for as long as I can remember. I grew up in the Smosh Yancat era, and when reminded of this era, I realized she has always been there. When I was a kid, Hatsune Miku merch was a fringe thing only available at like Hot Topic. Now she's in Fortnite. I was not originally the Miku fan of the family. So I don't know anything about Project Sakai, so I went because I was like, Miku. I liked the concert at the end. That was my favorite part. I felt like I got a free Miku concert for going to see the movie, which was sick.
Final thoughts, good Miku movie. I got to show Ace a little bit of the stuff that I like about my game.
I like to pick stuff to print and model not based off what I think I would enjoy, rather what I feel would be a fun challenge and push my skills further. All of the prints today did exactly that and were wrapped in a cute little Miku bow. Well, I guess Miku doesn't traditionally wear her hair in a bow, but oh, I know. I don't know what it is with me and hair clips, but I feel like every other project I make is hair related in some way. Weird. That aside, this is the easiest Miku print I did for the channel. This print was very simple to make. It just consists of 3 cubes stacked on top of each other. In some artwork, the hair clip does not have the indents for the pink color, and some variations are red instead of pink. I opted to use the Stark indent despite how it required supports because I felt it looked better in cosplay and demo form. I may further revise this model and make it so the break in the middle is more gradual, meaning no supports are needed. However, I didn't opt for that in this video. To achieve this black and pink color, I used my favorite technique of a filament swap at layer to get the color. I have a short that discusses how to do this on older slicers, and in this video I will discuss the technique in much more detail. The 2 colors for this model are Inland Black PLA and Inland Pink PLA+. Miku's appearance varies wildly depending on which version you're looking at, but her most classic version wears the hair clip forward. To achieve this, I place the hair clips on the back so they allow the box to face forward towards the face of the person that's wearing it. I am by no means a cosplay expert, so this could be adjusted for a better cosplay experience. Overall, I am very happy with how this model turned out, and it made for a perfect and fun video. Also, I think my Miku model looks stunning. While this month focuses on Hatsune Miku, the next model is actually a dual cosplay model. My sister is a massive fan of Kagamine Len, and to my surprise I noticed that him and Miku actually share identical headphone designs in some iterations. This meant that if I made headphones for one character, I'd be making one for both. With this in mind, I set out. Before I started this model, there were 2 goals. Make the headphones light up, and make the battery compartment accessible long term. Why I did number 1 is pretty obvious. I mean, who doesn't like stuff that lights up? But number 2 has a bit more explanation. I wanted the batteries to be easily accessible so the headphones could be turned off and on easily, and the batteries could be swapped easily for future use once they run out. My original plan was to make a panel that would only include the batteries, but the complexity ended up not being worth it. Instead, I opted to make the entire back panel removable, which allowed me to use heat set inserts. This is the first project I've modeled personally with heat set inserts, and it required a little bit of trial and error. I find this works best when you heat the iron to the exact temperature you print at. If you don't go along those lines, the plastic can melt too much and in some cases sublimate. This model also took some trial and error in the size. Originally the case was way too small and the battery pack just could not fit. This is still somewhat of an issue on the final product, so I may revisit this battery pack's wiring at a later date. Aside from depth, the shroud ended up being the perfect size since I used my own headphones as a size reference. To make the sections where the light shines through, I printed separate pieces and made sure they all had the exact same surface finish. I gotta admit, I have a soft spot for the way PEI textured beds make a surface look, so I'll admit I'm a little bit biased with the way that this looks. I think the subtle marbling that those beds give add the perfect texture to prints that are colored and eventually have a light behind them. I printed the clear pieces in inland blue glass PLA and inland yellow glass PLA. The main body and all other pieces were printed in inland white PLA+. The final extra touch I added to the headphones was the white headband. Originally, I had played with the idea of making these with a 3D printed headband, but worried it would be too inflexible and break and crack. That being said, if I ever revisit this project, I would like to make the batteries less obvious, headband 3D printed, and surface finishes different and more contrasting. I'm very happy with how this project turned out and how it helped me get more comfortable with designing models that use heat set inserts. Oh, and side note before I move on, I only discussed color as it related to Kagamine Len. However, if you wanted these to look like Miku, you can vary the colors in the way that would make them look like Miku. Her classic colors are black for the main body and pink for the insert panels. But if you wanted to print those for Fortnite Miku, either Neko Miku or Bright Bomber Miku, you could use pink and maroon or purple and pink respectively. Okay, let's say if this video gets 100 likes, I'll make Fortnite Miku. Anyway, moving on. The third model I want to mention is the moving Telepathy Miku box. This was not designed by me and instead a wonderful creator on MakerWorld. When looking for models to make for this video, this designer stuck out as super unique. All their models are very creative, and I wish I had had enough time to make them all for this video. There are two versions of this model, automatic and manual. I opted to print the manual one as I don't have the components on hand to automate the movement. The coolest part of this project to me is how it uses a lopsided gear to make the system work in one single direction. You can kind of see that on the screen now. To get the color effect, say it with me now, I used my old favorite technique, the filament swap. The two colors I used for this project were Inland Black PLA and Inland White PLA+. If you are at all mechanically inclined, I would highly, highly, highly recommend checking out the artist's page as they make some really amazing models. Again, I really wish I had the time to visit all of them in this video. The star of the show for this video is the Blocky Miku Buddies, as I call them. I have fell in love with these little guys ever since I made the first Miku. I didn't make these models myself, they're actually from this user on Thingiverse. Some of the later ones in the video I actually did as remixes of the original. The reason I want to discuss them is because I am super proud of how I got the color on them. Despite how they look, each model was printed in such a way where they could be printed on virtually any printer without the use of anything fancy like an AMS or CFS. The way I did this is with my favorite 3D printing technique, the layer swap. I made a video in the past showing how to do this in Cura Slicer as mentioned previously in the video, but today I want to talk about newer slicers as this has become slightly outdated. Nowadays, most users either use Orca Slicer or Bamboo Studio. So, here is what I found on modern slicers. To create this color swap, the process is the same for both an AMS or traditional setup. Once a file is sliced, go to the Preview tab and look at the layer view. In the layer view, scroll through the print to find the layer you want to swap to a different color. Add one layer above as the color will change after that layer is printed. On the scroll bar on the right, click to bring up the option Per Layer. For traditional printers, click Pause at Layer. This will stop the printer and allow you to manually swap the color by hand. On a multicolor system, such as the AMS, you should choose the option Swap Filament. This option is only available if you have multiple colors set up in the filament section in the left portion of your slicer, and that works for both traditional printers or with an AMS system, as I've found in my testing. One thing I noticed while testing is that if you slice a model and add a color swap at a certain layer, then re-slice the file in a new layer height, Orca and Bamboo Slicer will automatically calculate a similar relative height to keep the swap at the same place. For this video, I will show the layers that I swapped to at a 0.16 millimeter layer height. However, please note that if you put these in at 0.16 and then swap to a more traditional 0.2, for instance, it will auto recalibrate. This helped a lot in the making of the Blocky Mikus, as I could slice each and then swap my profiles without losing the color painting, and you can take advantage of that too. The advantage of this method over the, quote, AMS-styled multicolor is that it produces much less waste. I was able to print each Miku only swapping the filament at layer. Thus, it only needed to purge around 9 times per model. I won't discuss filament purge waste much in this video, as I plan to make a dedicated video just for that discussion in the future, so stay tuned for that. Looking at the Teto block buddy, the process is still the same as for the regular Miku. All the color changes are at pretty much the same layer. The only difference is in what colors are swapped between. Depending on what version of Teto you choose to emulate, there could be some differences. Additionally, her hair is swapped for this custom mod made by this user on Thingiverse. I, again, am in love with these models, and there's only one slight issue with them. The hair for both models has a terrible benchy hole line section. For those of you that are unaware, the benchy hull line is an area of a print where a large section of infill is followed up by a very wide open section of thinner walls. The reason the print will show this line is because the thinner wall section and large open section vary widely in speed, thus the plastic put down at that section will actually warp, and that's how you get that bulging. To fix this issue, I might have to make a modification of the hairpiece in the future if I decide to develop this idea a little bit further. But those of you who have been watching this month's shorts should have realized that there is a third and fourth Miku I have yet to discuss with you. Let me introduce you to 2 of my own creations. First, Glorpy Miku. Glorpy Miku isn't based off any official version of Miku, rather this string of fan art. Glorpy Miku is found in 2 variations. One is more cat-like and has no skirt. The other one is more traditional looking. I opted for the latter as it fit more with the existing model that I already had printed. To make this model work, I added a small hole in the slicer to allow for the antenna. All the color swaps, again, were identical to the other 2 models, with the arm and sleeve designs matching Teto instead of Miku to fit with this image of Glorpy Miku. While the other models didn't have pupils in the eyes, I felt it was very important to add the white parts of the eyes to give it that signature gleeby look. I had previously showed off Miku and Teto, but what's the triple Bako without its third member? The final Blocky model of this video is the Neru Buddy. This one was a simple remix I modeled of the original. For printing, she was identical to classic Miku, but with one change. I took out the connector piece on the left side of the hair so that she only has her one ponytail. Neru is not an official Vocaloid, so this model had the most, we'll call, creative liberties of all of the Miku block buddies I made in this video. I'm so proud of how this model turned out, and I'm now obsessed with seeing if I can find other new variations of Miku that I could make as a modification of this classic design. In the future, I'd love to even make a whole collection of different blocky Miku buddies, so leave a comment if you'd like to see that. I mentioned color swapping a lot in this section of the video, and I want to separate my guide-ish stuff from the rest of the main video. On screen right now, you'll see the layers to swap for Miku and the rest. Each swap shows what color will be needed to swap in between. As I talk, the numbers will be on screen, as well as the colors if you'd like to match the exact hue that I had. For Miku, I used Inland Black and Sand PLA, Inland Pink and White PLA+, and JMG HE Green High Speed PLA+. For Teto, I used Inland Gray, Black, and Sand PLA in addition to Inland Red PLA+. For Glorpy Miku, I used Polymaker Green, Polylight PLA, Inland Black and Lime Green PLA, and Inland Yellow and White PLA+. For Neru, I used Inland Gray, Black, and Sand PLA, Inland Yellow PLA+, and Prusament Royal Blue PLA. As mentioned before, I will be making a follow-up video next month discussing how I calibrated each filament to run smoothly on my A1, as well as how I honed in the long retract to decrease my filament waste by up to 75%. So that's a little tease. Please check that out when it comes out. Speaking of the A1 and the AMS, this brings me to the final Miku model of the video, the 5-color Miku Standee. This model was excellently designed by this user on MakerWorld. Those who are familiar with the AMS Lite should realize why I decided to mention this print in this video. This model uses 5 colors, but the AMS light only has 4 ports. So how did I do it? Like with every other project, this uses a filament swap at layer. Again, my favorite technique. The difference between this and the other projects is that the swap at layer is manual despite the fact that it uses the AMS. To accomplish this, what I did was have the first few layers print in all white. Once the white had printed, the white filament cut and was retracted. After cutting, I manually swapped the spool on the AMS from white to pink and the rest of the print completed with the 4 remaining colors. To accomplish this in the slicer, I used all 5 colors to slice, but when sending the file to my printer, I had 2 colors use the same port in the AMS. In this specific case, I had white and pink both occupy slot 4. This is a technique I have seen other users use to get more colors out of their stock AMS light to overcome the fact that the A1 series can only use 1 AMS at the time of this video. I have a big project I'm working on which uses this color swap cheat, so I will update more as I post more about it in the future. To make this project, I used Inland Black, White, and Sand PLA, Inland Pink PLA+, and Jamg HE High Speed Green PLA+. To close out this video, I want to say this has been a super fun experience making all of these Miku-centered models all month. My sister is the one who gave me the idea to do this in the first place, so shout out to her. For a lot of my family, I actually will tell them, just go online and find me files to make. And she sent me this huge Google Doc full of Miku models, and I didn't even get to show off all the ones that I plan to print in this video. This is something kind of unique and different for me and for the channel, so if you guys like this kind of content, please let me know in the comments. Additionally, I didn't just make shorts, I also streamed various Miku-related games right here on YouTube. So if you'd like to, please check out the VODs. It was a lot of fun, especially Miku Fitness Boxing. One project I didn't mention in this video that I did model this month was the Miku Nendoroid stage. Since the video was finished before the stream, I didn't even get the chance to include it in this video. Suffice to say, the end of May does not mean the end of Miku-related activities on my channel. So if you're a fan who just joined for this kind of content, don't worry. I have more coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned. As for my more regular channel activities, I'll be going back to and finishing my series on the Bamboo A1 next month. I have 2 videos planned that I tease throughout this video, and in previous videos. All of these Miku models helped me test this printer more and add more to the eventual follow-up on that printer. So keep posted for those updates. As for this video, this is where I end. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I also hope you learned a little bit and have something to take away. But all that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye!